What's up, Otaku fam? We are the Otaku Couple, back more reactions here for the channel with more Gigguk. We have This Is What Happens When Anime Is Real. I'll be honest, I don't know what this is talking about. I just saw a new Gigguk and I was like, you know what? Bet. Fuck it. Let's do it. That's all there is to it. Thanks for that. And thank you guys for the continued support. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, because every little bit helps. And let's hop on in.
What if anime was real?
I don't know. Talk to me about it.
Was true.
Shut the fuck up, you read. It's rare nowadays that I ever go back to revisit an anime. Do you see how many shows are airing every season? In this day and age, I can barely keep up with what's coming out. And you think I got time to go back and watch shit like The Hero is overpowered but overly cautious? Huh? Who's still watching this? Who still thinks about this? We're all consuming so much media now that even if you enjoyed a show, even if you found something good in the moment, you can't always predict when something will actually stick with you because we move on so fast. But
on the flip side of that, it's more so things that so the Patreon, which by the way, we have a Patreon react to TV shows and anime, completely uncut. Links are down below in the description. But that has been our way of discovering either things that are super popular that we missed, or new things that are coming out that are going to be big hits. And a lot of the times, I'll say about half of the time, we actually don't really care for it to the level as the hype was predicted for it. And I think that's because of just how much there is to consume. It kind of will dull your standards at some point, because you can't, once you see something that hits all the notes, it's kind of hard for other shows. And if they even miss one note, then they're just not that level anymore. Right. So
I'm really enjoying Chainsaw Man, though.
Yeah. I'm thinking more like My Dress Up Darling.
Oh.
The first 3 episodes really did not do it for. We were kind of worried. And then it just, the immediate 0 to 100 of how much we loved that show was kind of crazy. But it was one of those, if we weren't reacting to it and we were doing our just give it 3 episodes and see how we feel, we probably would have dropped the show. And that's kind of a shame. Yeah. But it's just what happens.
There is a show that's been living rent-free in my mind and refuses to leave even years after it's aired now. A show so unique, so batshit insane, it explored a premise I've never seen in anime before and since. A show that seemingly everyone around me has already stopped talking about and moved on from. So, wanting to know why I couldn't do the same, I tried seeing if it was actually as good as I thought it was, and deserving to stick on in my memory. And upon my rare second viewing, I realized I was wrong. It was so much better.
Oh! He got us! We fell for the bamboozlement.
But I'm getting ahead of myself, because first, it's sponsor time. This video is brought to you by NeuroCloud.
Oh, NeuroCloud. I thought that are going to be Boxu, so, what are the other... Oh, no.
As well, each one complete with a fully unique Nirvana-specific animation sequence, and man, just look at this. I was beyond impressed
the
by
anime
every single one I used.
It's still the sponsor.
Dropping your alt and watch just PNGs. You can use these things. Fits. Thank you very much to NeuroCloud for sponsoring me today. Back to the video. What would the world be like if fiction became reality? This is a question Sota unexpectedly has to deal with when one day he gets transported right into an anime that he's watching. But wait, hold on. He gets transported back and finds out that the anime characters have come with him. Suddenly, characters from all sorts of anime, games,
it's a reverse isekai?
Start appearing in the real world and start duking it out. It's an all-out brawl. The fantasy knight starts flying around in our reality. This mage summons Gate of Babylon, except it's got bloody...
Okay, so it's reverse isekai meets fate, guys.
Rocket launches, fucking magical girl appears. How cool is this concept? Now, I know what you're thinking. Gigguk talking about another isekai. Yes. But actually, no. Look, yes, we can keep up the meme and call this an isekai, but the premise and appeal is not even in the same galaxy as your standard isekai. So no, I don't like this because it's an isekai. I like it because it's fate. One thing I absolutely...
There it is.
What did I say? It's reverse isekai meets fate. I just said it. All right, everybody has to comment down below W.
And we
W's in the comments.
We will do the fate video. I have to do my PowerPoint still. I'm not mentally prepared yet.
W's in the comments for my awesome prediction.
We love in any medium is seeing elements that don't traditionally exist together clash with each other in a story. Like that was the biggest reason I initially started to get invested in the MCU in the first place. Growing up, I was never massive into superhero movies, and when Phase 1 first released, that's mostly how I felt. Then, Avengers came out, and I was like, wait, I get to see a billionaire engineer fight a Nordic god and a super soldier in the mix?
Now you have my attention.
Hulk starts wrecking shit. Aliens blow up New York, and Hawkeye's like, guys, I have a bow and arrow. Then, slowly, you start seeing the world changing. Governments have to acknowledge the threat of alien invasions. Space travel gets introduced as a normal thing. Doctor Strange comes out. Great, I guess we have wizards now too. Black Panther. Okay, now there's a secret advanced civilization. Thanos invades, and Hawkeye's still like, guys, I still got my bow and arrow. Thanos, you better watch out. I'm gonna shoot you with this arrow. It's a really sharp arrow. Pew. Pew, pew. Magic, space, technology, gods, super soldiers. You have all these elements, all coexisting, all coming to head in the same universe. Not as a gimmick, but building off each other for a grander plot. Yeah. And this is the basis of why I love ReCreators so much. This is what happens when you take every cliche genre in anime and crash them into each other. Take a look at this scene. We start off with a magical girl and definitely not Saber arguing ethics with the equivalent of a scheming yandere Izaya from Durarara. That's going about as well as you imagined. Then, superior Arsena and a Final Fantasy mage jump in. Negotiations have broken down. Not Saber uses her noble fantasy. It starts wrecking shit. Her and superior Arsena go at it. Suddenly, a Guilty Gear character casually walks in. He doesn't have magic.
Guilty Gear character.
Fucking gun.
He's got a fucking gun.
Magic versus guns. What wins? Guns. What beats guns? JoJo stands. A Persona character.
Of course. It all makes
just happened
sense.
right there.
With the JoJo stand joins the fray in battles by sucking. Using his stand. Seeing all this violence, the magical girl just wants everyone to get along and decides to join in to try and stop the fighting with
Sailor Moon comes in
and more violence. It's mayhem. And just as you think it can't get any crazier, a giant mech just drops in and. What is happening? You have a fake character fighting a fantasy character, fighting a Guilty Gear character, fighting a Persona character, fighting a magical girl, and in the middle of this, there's just a Monogatari villain causing complete chaos. Seeing a habit like this unfold is some of the most fun I've ever had as an anime fan, because if you're a weeb who's watched shows with the characters like this in them, how the hell does this not put a smile on your face? This is a show that rewards those who are familiar with the tropes of anime by taking the cliches you know and flipping them into unfamiliar territory. So you may be wondering, why the hell did everyone else forget about this show?
That's what I want to fucking know.
The most common complaint I see about the show is that it's just bogged down with too much dialogue because, oh lord, there's a lot of it. The first 2 episodes open up with a bang. You got giant robots, you got explosions, you got this badass girl playing a gun with a sword like a violin to control other swords, and you're like, oh god, I'm so ready, this is gonna be awesome. Then the next few episodes hits and it's like, can we get back to the sword lady fighting the giant Gundam again, please? The first time I watched this, I came in with the expectations that this was just going to be a dumb, fun action romp with anime from every genre. So when there were several episode stints of nothing but just talking, I would honestly just half zone out, waiting for the next action scene. But on my second viewing, because I knew when the action was coming, because I wasn't just anticipating the next big fight scene, I had the chance to actually fully immerse myself to what they were talking about, and I thought, damn. This is actually interesting as hell. ReCreators doesn't just settle with...
Well, good to know that.
I was waiting for him to say, damn, they talk a lot.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, it's good to know that, you know, if you pay attention, it actually is interesting. So just don't go into this show with the mindset of why are they talking so fucking much? Because I will be honest, I was about to say, oh, so it's one of those shows that pulls you in the first few episodes to get you invested enough and then just gives you the shit show. And you're already too like the Netflix adaptation for Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
The first 2 episodes were kind of tolerable.
And they got
they were like okay enough that you're like, I'll see where it goes. But then by episode 5, you're like, I can't take anymore. But there's only so many episodes left. I might as well see how the shit show ends.
I was ready to call it.
I was too. I'll be honest. We did react to that on our Patreon, by the way. It was But we reacted to the original one, so check that one out instead. That one was fun.
Presenting this wacky concept of, hey guys, what if anime was real? But put serious thought into what struggles would actually exist if characters of fiction could break the barrier to our world. From the biggest effects to the smallest details. Characters that get transported here end up having some sort of sensory overload when they come to our world.
I bet.
The air feels different, the food tastes more flavorful, colors are brighter. What they experience in their world is only dependent on how much detail their author puts into their work. How descriptive was the orange juice they drank? Did the author deem it necessary to add coffee to their world building? But here, taste, smell, sight, a whole world of sensations they've never experienced is now at their fingertips, and I just thought this was a cool little detail I never would have thought about. But on top of this, ReCreators builds on its concept to explore so many interesting ideas, like what if these creations could actually meet their creators? We've seen this before with gimmicky fourth wall breaks, but to fictional characters, meeting your author is essentially meeting your god, the person responsible for all the bad things, all the natural disasters, all Fortnite dancers to ever exist. How would that make you feel? Would you be happy, in awe, angry, knowing they allowed Sasuke to do this? How would you feel if your god didn't even care about their own story and only did it for money? How would you feel if your god was a pervert and you were only created as an object of sexual desire? How would you feel if you met your god only to find out they were a devil, knowing that you were a character in a tragedy? Seeing these creations cope with the fact that their god was not a god, but in fact so disappointingly mortal, and their entire lives were just stories played out for entertainment, was an aspect that added so many fascinating angles. Every creation shares a different dynamic with their creator. Some came to resent their creators, some formed a pseudo-parent-child bond, some just chose to ignore it and take a deep puff of some of that good copium. And the shit the archetypes these characters were based on in so many interesting directions. Take Mamika, the magical girl. Right in episode 2, we find out magical girls are packing some heat. Her family-friendly magic starts fucking shit up. Buildings are erupting, there are explosions everywhere, she almost kills a guy. People are fucked. Then afterwards, she looks around and is like, oh my god, who did this? You did this! You caused all this collateral damage! What the fuck is collateral damage? She comes from a children's show where there is no violence and every problem is solved by the power of friendship. So when she finds out she can cause serious harm and not all conflicts can be solved by telling people to get along, she's just like, This is a character that's completely out of her depth, but through these interactions, she starts to learn a new worldview. She changes her perspective, changes her approach, realizes the world is more complicated than it is in a children's cartoon, and eventually starts taking actions in a way her original archetype never would have, while still remaining the same core character of wanting to save the people around her. This is something that rings true for every creation we see in the show. Alistaria, a righteous fantasy knight understanding a world where justice isn't just black or white. Blitz, a character who has to come to terms that he was created for the sole purpose of suffering. Celestia, Kanaya, Yuya, Magane, character archetypes we recognize are forced into situations we would never usually see them in, and because of that they can slowly change into far more interesting characters than they ever would have got the chance to in their original stories. It's shit like this that had me hooked the entire run, where most shows would take this premise and go, hoo anime characters in real life, duh. ReCreators sits down and goes, okay, what if that one person was like this, or that character was like that? How would they react? How does that change the dynamic? And that spawns another idea, then another. The show is bursting with so many unique concepts that takes advantage of its insane premise. The action can be high-octane, turbo-fisto fun, but at the same time it's a series that's not afraid to just sit down and spend some time chilling with the characters just struggling to live in the world. Does this make up for all the excessive dialogue? No. Even with all this interesting stuff, there's so much of what I like to call anime bullshittery. Characters will just put a 5-minute exposition dump on why other people are being transported to the real world. How do we fix this? Why the world is coming to a fucking end. And I hate to do this, but girl, this is kind of on you. Half the time when the plot doesn't know where to go, our lovely mage Meteora will suddenly get a bright idea and be like, guys, I have a theory. Go on. That is a fascinating theory. Do you have any sources?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
The show spends so much time and makes up so much bullshit trying to explain its own mechanics, and while some of it is cool, a lot of it really did not need to be that complicated. ReCreators, looking at you, nobody gives a rat's ass of your PhD level of bullshit you used to explain why anime characters are here and why the world is coming to an end. If you needed to add stakes, you have an OP villain who hates the world. Just give a time limit before her power becomes fully active or some shit. Come on. Look, we're not here for this.
Shut up, bitch!
We're here for this. There are some other things as well, like Magane's power makes no sense and is just broken in every way. The final conclusion takes so much suspension of disbelief and it's just anime bullshittery shot up into the fucking stratosphere, but honestly, I don't really mind. The more time passes, the more I've just appreciated what this series tried to do, and watching it again made me rethink some of the things I thought I hated about it. I remember the first time I watched this, I absolutely despised Sota. Sota is a shriveled scrotum of a protagonist. Early on we find out that he knows the origin of the villain everyone's trying to find out about, and he just does Nothing. Doesn't tell anyone, doesn't do anything. The plot goes on standstill just for him. And I remember the first time I watched this, I was fuming. Livid that this Shinji ass motherfucker was taking up valuable screen time when I could be watching a giant robot turbo fist a fucking flying knight. But then you find out the reason for it and I was like, oh, I think I get it now. Sota isn't a hero like the characters he's standing next to. He's just a normal dude who likes anime. Shy, socially awkward, living with his own trauma, afraid to face the problems in his life head on. Frustratingly afraid to take action, but frustratingly real. He's someone who needs the heroes you see in anime to give him something to aspire to be. And that's when I realized that ReCreators is a story about stories. Why is it that fiction exists? Why do we need heroes, villains? Why do our stories require conflicts for our characters to overcome to be interesting? This is something that all the creations in the show have to come to terms with in their own way. Would Guts from Berserk be able to accept what's happened knowing his perseverance inspired thousands to push through their own struggles? Would Olga from Kurino react well knowing that she helped? Never mind.
Yeah,
I love stories.
Don't go there.
I love stories so much I found a career talking about how much I love stories. And when I saw this series exploring the importance of fiction in our lives, I didn't just appreciate the very original way it went about it, but I also appreciated just how personal it felt to me. And then the show ended on a 4-episode balls to the wall action free-for-all, and I was happy again. ReCreators is a fan fiction for anyone who's ever created something, a celebration of anime and the culture behind it, a look into the dangers of online toxicity, a boatload of fun, and a love letter to stories themselves. Can it be a little messy? Yeah. Is the dialogue a little bloated? Yeah. Is the pacing a bit off? Yeah, but now I've just come to value something that so specifically speaks to my tastes, even if the execution isn't perfect. A 7 or 8 out of 10 show that appeals to me is, in my opinion, more important than a perfectly crafted 10 out of 10 classic that doesn't. And that's why I'll always choose something like Tales of Arise over The Last of Us, Scott Pilgrim over The Godfather. Hell, it's why I'm so addicted to Genshin, even though I know I could clown on this game for fucking days. A show like this was never going to be super popular or go down as a critically acclaimed classic, but it's a series brimming with so many interesting ideas, so many original concepts, so many fun moments that never fail to put a smile on my face, and a core that speaks to my love of fiction. There is no other anime like ReCreators, nothing else I can recommend to you. This was a batshit crazy idea for a show, and somehow someone was equally batshit crazy enough to approve it. Give me a choice of a popular, highly acclaimed anime like Jujutsu Kaisen or ReCreators, and I choose ReCreators every time. We've seen variations of this show before. They were called Bleach or Yu Yu Hakusho, and no, I'm not calling them the same show, but you know what I mean. Fuck, just look at the beginning of Chainsaw Man right now and tell me the premise and plot structure isn't almost identical. There's gonna be more Jujutsu Kaisens in the future, there's gonna be more My Hero Academias in the future, there's gonna be more Narutos in the future, but there's only ever been one ReCreators.
That does look really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Definitely something we could probably watch at our own time.
Yeah.
I would have suggested maybe we'll put on a reaction poll at some point, and maybe if we're really struggling to find like a third option, but with all the fluff dialogue in there, probably don't want to react to it.
Let's watch that for
Yeah,
us.
but we can definitely just do that on our free time and just drown out the
It
same
does
way
sound
he
really
did.
cool.
It does sound like a really interesting idea when they're not doing all the anime bullshittery that he was talking about. Well, let us know down below in the comments, guys. Have you seen ReCreators? How much did you like the show or dislike the show? I'm curious. And we will see you guys for the next reaction. Bye.